if you get to a point where the AI is improving itself at a rate that is sufficient, right? If it's improving itself, making itself better, then essentially you've created a god, right? You've created something that's so knowledgeable and understands the universe in such a way that humans can't quite fathom this. My question is, if China wins that, if they get to that point where they have this AGI first, and maybe it's a simplistic way to think of AGI, there's different ways we can think about AI, but in a very simple method, do they have the will to dominate the rest of the world with a tool like that?
China, I think I would not attribute the will to dominate the world to the Chinese leadership. They certainly want a world that is congenial to their interests. They are hyper aware of the immense blood and treasure that the United States has spent managing its various interests around the world. And Chinese strategists will often write that that's not a trap that they want to fall into because it's very expensive. Now, they may stumble into it because they've developed interests around the world economically, but they're conscious of the fact that in some ways that's kind of like a burden on a nation. They would like to kind of ride the wave without having to invest very deeply in it in the way that the United States has. But if they develop AGI, it creates all kinds of questions for military escalation, for example. We've got to, and we are having those conversations with the Chinese government and with Chinese firms about escalation control, crisis control. Because when you think about the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was human beings, in the White House, in the Kremlin, who had just a few days. A few days seemed incredibly short. Here you might have a few seconds if you don't think about these problems in advance for crisis control and ensuring that human beings stay in the loop. There will always be that pressure with AI to accelerate it because the adversary might have AI and fewer humans in the process and in the loop. The TRC is extremely concerned about the possibilities of AI because a regime that survives on information control and information dominance can't simply surrender that to an AI model. And so you see in Chinese LLMs, for example, they're highly competitive in many respects with US LLMs, but they also are kind of handcuffed in particular corners that have to do with sensitivities regarding the CCP. And so I think there's a genuine question about whether the CCP's sensitivities about its political monopoly will become will have an inhibitory effect on AI and AGI. It'll be really good for particular industrial applications, but a broader base, comprehensive general intelligence, this I think would be even more threatening to the regime than anything Voice of America could put out.